What's up, guys? Welcome back to the 3 Tenths Up podcast, and I am joined with Raz
Hello.
and Toms,
Yeah, what's up?
and we're going to cover the British Grand Prix of 2021. Quite an eventful weekend for a lot of reasons. For sprint race, fans back in full capacity, a lot of drama. It was a very eventful race weekend, even if some of our opinions are biased.
Biased in the opposite direction.
Right. And unfortunately, Greg is not going to be able to argue with us because I think it would be pretty monumental if he was here, but we'll make do. I guess let's just go right into it. I'm going to let you guys kind of get some emotion out, and then I'll try to ring some stuff back in because I definitely have my own thoughts on it. Lap 1, the Grand Prix, so Sunday race.
Yes, of course, you got to mention that.
Yeah, in the cops, Max and Lewis tangle. Max is out of the race. I'm assuming if you guys are listening to this, you have watched it. And fans from Red Bull, from Mercedes, some on the drivers. So, initial thoughts. Whoever wants to take the reins. I mean, let's go Raz first, so we get past the 5-minute mark, so we don't get demonetized with our 10 subscribers.
Oh well, I'm not gonna say any expletives right now. I'll save that for later. But okay, putting on my FIA hat, I thought that first of all, brilliant start. You know, the battle that was happening for the lead. You know, right the way from effectively turn 1, then through that whole Aintree loop section down the straight was just, phenomenal. And then as we get around to cops, wow, the only thing I could think of, and forgive me, right, for digging up something that was old and buried, was remember, Max has won how many races in the last? Well, he won. Red Bull basically won the last 4 races consistently, isn't it? Or 5, yeah. Okay, the last time something like that happened, where Lewis was beaten consistently, was 2016. Okay, what did he do on the effectively the 4th race? So the 5th race.
No, okay, we're getting past that.
No.
I ain't talking, dude. I'm not talking about Nico Rosberg.
No. I'm not talking about that. But effectively, what I'm gonna get to the point. The point is like Lewis Hamilton, right? He knew he had to win this, so he made sure to do whatever was necessary to win it. That's as a raw racer, that's what you'd see, right? But in terms of the outcome of what happened, I wasn't expecting it to be so one-sided in the sense of like only Max got, such a massive injury, and he is still in hospital, so we'll see what happens. He's bruised and concussed a bit, but I was just my flabber was well and truly gasted at the leniency of the penalty that was given for something, of that much impact. So I feel like we were kind of robbed at the end of it all, and the fact that the gap is only down to 8 points now between the 2 drivers is unfair a bit from a neutral standpoint as well. So yeah, that's my initial take on the crash. Obviously, as it happens, we'll probably hear more. But I love the whole sort of like the red flag period whereby Toto Wolff was trying to get Michael Massey on his side, and it's like, dude, what are you doing? You shouldn't be doing that. So let's see what happens on that. But yeah, over to you, Toms.
Yeah, it's well. First of all, thank goodness Max is okay, because the impact was massive. The car. You look at what's left of the car. Nothing's pretty much left of the car, and the worst thing is, I'm not an expert of these kind of things, but I mean, he went full speed sideways into the barrier, which, and you saw him. He walks out, thank God. But he's visibly shaken up. He's basically limping. He's kind of shocked, as you would be in that situation, because like Christian Horner pointed out accurately, this is not just one of the fastest corners on the track. It's on the calendar, one of the fastest corners. So to have that type of impact and to walk.
What was it?
200, yeah, it's just a massive.
200 miles an hour, or actually, it was 330 kilometers an hour, as I heard on the German broadcast. But
well, and that's
whatever that is, yeah, that's over 200.
The point is, it's fast, yeah, it's super fast. It makes it super dangerous. As far as the crash, I frankly, I'm sitting there watching everything unfold, and granted, I am emotionally driven when it comes to this Formula One thing. I take everything to heart when it comes to Formula One. I watch a lot of sports. I don't take basketball so seriously. I don't take football so seriously. I don't take hockey so seriously. I do take everything with regards to Formula One to heart, totally. So obviously you can adjust for the emotions, but frankly, guys, I don't know about you, but I couldn't believe listening to these experts and people within Formula One. I don't care about what the teams say, because the teams are going to say what they have to say. But listening to these experts who have been around racing and stuff, the fact that there was even a debate about whether or not Hamilton should get a penalty for this, for me it's not laughable. It's
disgusting
scandalous.
Is the word you're looking for.
It's scandalous. It's disgusting. Exactly. Frankly, it's just unbelievable that we even have to go that way. Because the reality is, and this is where I totally agree with Jensen Button. He, I think, put the best analysis out there. He wasn't, trying to stay on the fence or be faithful to Hamilton or whatever like that. He basically said, look, Lewis is not on the apex going into Copse. The fact that he's on the inside going into Copse is no problem. It's fine that you're there, but he's not on the apex. Max is on the outside, and by the way, Max is ahead of Lewis, not by much, but he is ahead. So obviously he's going to turn in eventually because he has to, and by the way, he is still ahead. So if Hamilton is on the inside, on the apex, it's fine. And then they go, as I assume, through Maggots Beckett Chapel, Wellington Straight, and then they fight it out. But because Hamilton was not on the apex, because he was more centered in the track, Max turns in like he's supposed to. That's where the contact happens. If Hamilton is on the apex, none of this happens. So the fact that there is even a debate about whether or not this was a penalty is laughable. It's clearly a penalty. It's not a racing incident. It's Hamilton's fault, and he got a penalty for it deservedly. The problem is obviously the fact that he doesn't get any problems from it. Well, thankfully he didn't crash heavily like Max did, but he has this minor damage on the wheel, and then it's a red flag, and he fixed that too. And then he yeah, and that's that. But
No,
but,
just touching on the actual accident. I don't know if for those of you who are watching, Max's tire came off the rim. It wasn't
cleanly.
That was the shocking thing of it. Because usually what happens is the tethers, they do their job. The rim was still on the car, right? So the tether,
it just flew off cleanly.
The fact that the tire flew off really got me like, oh shit, this is quite a big one, right? In that regard. So yeah, it's and the thing is this is so dangerous, and from the FIA's point of view, is like, we're gonna nerf pit stops because of safety. We're gonna do this because of safety. We're gonna do that because of safety. And thank God that they are doing something about safety. But the thing is, if you were gonna let this go, it would look so laughable. Because I will tell you just like this: 30 years ago, probably the guy who crashes like that doesn't get out of there. Probably. So it's a testament to how much we're making strides towards safety. But the thing is, you could not let this go. Not first of all because it was Hamilton's fault, but second of all because the driver was really in a dangerous situation. He was winded. He was
exactly,
winded.
But and you can't let this go. Is my point. Andrew, over to you. Here we go.
So
choose your words carefully.
Yep.
I think the penalty was justified. I think that, and I always, you're supposed to kind of look at it more situationally, because I think if it happened at a different corner, we might be having a different conversation, or at least I definitely would be having a different opinion on it. But the nature of where Hamilton was, where Max was in the corner, and where the contact took place, as like Button said, before the apex, and your car washes there. It washes out because it's just such a high-speed corner. So my whole thing was, and I was arguing with Greg about this because, unfortunately he's not on it. But
what did he say?
Well, he was saying that, he thought that it was Hamilton's corner because he was on the inside and stuff like that. God. And what I was arguing is, you're allowed to be on the inside.
Yeah.
There, but because the car washes out, I think Lewis had more of a responsibility to make a backing out decision than Max did, given the position of the car. And because so if Hamilton backed out, you avoided incident, which is probably what most drivers would have done at that instance. Now, you did see Leclerc back out and go wide, but why would Max back out and go off the track when it's his corner? So
he was half a car ahead at least.
He was a third ahead, but that still counts.
Whatever, yeah, it was about a third ahead, but it was close enough. And I just, if Max goes out, then he's not racing, and he's given the position to Hamilton because he just put himself in the in that position to be on the inside. So I think the blame, if you have to do a toss-up, I think the blame goes more towards Hamilton if I'm thinking about this as a really logical standpoint. The emotional point is absolutely penalty, but if I'm trying to look at it in a very unbiased position, I just feel that it was more of a Max's corner, given the nature of the position, given the nature of the corner, and what happens in that particular corner, because all these drivers have raced that. And I think if that happens somewhere else on track, you could have a different argument. But it's because it was cops that there was only really one outcome for that to happen there. And I honestly think that, one of his other arguments was that that Max should have been more aware. But I always try to give more leniency to the drivers than what I think the commentators do, because the commentators just see, okay, you can see everything from a drone and aerial helicopter perspective, and we get to see it 8 times in 1 minute at 6 different camera angles, slow-mo, everything. Like, you are not
the whole 9
that.
yards.
Yeah, so I honestly don't think, I think the two things that were going through Max's head, and this is being a really novice, opinionator, is Hamilton's either going to back out because this is my corner, or I have enough of a gap that I'm going to be able to clear Hamilton.
Yes.
And when you're going about 200 miles an hour and you're taking that right, I'm like, he's not going to be able to process everything. And they were both extremely aggressive.
Yeah,
they were weaving and slashing and stuff. It was exciting to watch.
That's what I'm saying.
This is what. Sorry, Raz. I think this is what Raz kind of said. I don't think he was trying to put any blame on Hamilton in terms of, that he did it on purpose. But this ties into that argument about Spain 2016, that when Hamilton felt like he had to win that race, today, he will go to extreme lengths, and he will put you in a position where. You know what I'm saying?
A compromising position.
I think it's over-aggression, because Hamilton knew he needed to win, and I think it does mean that it's Silverstone and that this is the Mercedes track of the past half decade. The crowd's there. Yeah, so exactly. Yes, so the importance of Hamilton winning this race is huge on a multitude of levels. Yeah. But I think the mistake he made is also that he's going up against Max. This is not going to be a driver that's going to give it.
This is not Bottas.
Yeah, he's not going to give an inch. This driver's going to give it,
No.
He has that kind of like sentimentality, like, cool, you want to put me in this position, I'll put you in a position. So I understand both point of views. I don't
I just want to add one very key thing here, right? Okay, Cops, that fast right-hander. Then you got the Maggots and Beckett sequence, okay?
Chapel at Wellington Straight.
Yeah, no, and Hanger Straight. Hanger. Yeah, down to
I think
Stoke.
it's Wellington.
No, Wellington is the one coming out from.
Anyways.
Yeah. Anyways.
Apologize.
You got a big, massive straight, right? Like I said, the desperation of Hamilton for desperately winning this race at all cost. Circa 2016 Spain, right? In the sense of like, had he actually just followed him through, which he could have easily done. It was the first lap, so no DRS, none of that shit. He was within range. He could have just followed him through. You got a big, massive straight, literally, 3 corners after it? He could have just waited.
I think it's the desperation. I think it's the desperation that if he doesn't get ahead at that point, Max is gone.
Yeah,
and
but
the realization, and the fact is, that's probably true.
Yeah. But I'm just trying to look at it from a more balanced approach, in the sense of like, there's a big massive straight literally around the corner, right? Why have it here? And it kind of ruined the race for the neutrals as well, because you wanted to see a fight. Because remember, they fought down the first straight as well, down the Wellington Straight into Brooklands and Luffield, okay, and they followed it round through the old pit straight, into Copse where it happened. So if they were both changing positions on the straights and they were that close, surely Maggots and Beckett's would have worked out in his favor, right? And he could have just...
Well, you could tell that Hamilton had more pace off the bat.
Exactly.
So I that was the thing too, that he was a little impatient. So I think it's warranted. I think it's fine. I was pretty livid at the point, but it's also my emotion of just seeing someone else other than Mercedes and Hamilton win, that it's just like I have that desperation that I just need something else to happen in my life in that sense in F1. So, but I think it was all fair.
Yeah.
I think it was all fair. I think the penalty was fine.
No, I could talk about that forever, mate. But
you can the severity of it, but it's like, I think it was in the moment and everything. I think they made the most unbiased decision that they could at that time. With everything going on, it got worse as the race kind of went on, because you started to realize, but you can't penalize for the aftermath.
No.
And, the damage to the car, cool. I mean, if they were going at less speed, he doesn't damage the car as much. Or if he hits it different, the car is not damaged as much. If he hits a side pod, maybe he just goes straight off. And so I'm not going to do that. The good thing is that both drivers are out. And fine. One was able to continue the race. The other driver's thankfully okay. Well, I'm assuming that whole hospital bed is for cracked ribs and a concussion, it was 51 G's.
Yeah, 51 G's. That's
lateral.
Yeah, lateral.
So
it's
even
worse.
I think that's more precaution than anything. And I mean, he's winded, but I mean, that's a rough.
But then we open up that discussion. So if we're going to blame Hamilton for it, and you have such damage potentially not just to the car but to the health of another driver, then do you really think those 10 seconds are appropriate?
Well,
that's the thing.
The one thing I do agree with Greg on this, that he bring up, you have to judge the incident, not the result of the incident. They gave the penalty there because the penalty was warranted.
Yes.
Now, if he hit the side pod and went off and Max was out of the race, but he wasn't in the wall and the car wasn't completely destroyed, okay. But we're judging this because that Rebel Honda is completely fucking smashed. Like that's probably a complete new rebuild. I don't know what is salvageable from that car.
No, it's going to be a full rebuild,
if anything. Yeah. So that's why. But if the roles were reversed, you want the same kind of penalty.
Yeah, consistency.
And then if that was Hamilton in the wall and Max was there and everything, Mercedes be saying the same shit, or that Red Bull did, and vice versa. So,
well, we assume that Verstappen would have gotten the same penalty. We don't know.
No. Verstappen would have got a harsher penalty. Definitely,
I would say so. I would say so.
No, but the other thing is,
but that's beside the point.
Yeah. No, just touching on the post-race show on F1's YouTube channel. there was some interesting points raised by Alex Albon, who happened to have been on the receiving end twice of a Hamilton punt out. So the thing is, what he said about the penalty was quite interesting. He said that at the beginning of the year, all the drivers, along with the FIA, agreed that if one type of penalty is given out, all the other incidences in that race, or majority of them, have to be the same type or consistently enough, because their main worry. So like last time out, everyone was getting a 5-second penalty for for whatever it was. That was the thing. But even Albon was he was trying not to be biased, right? Bless him, right? But even he was like, nah, they shouldn't have actually. Well, yeah, had Hamilton waited until the next gone round, he would have been fine with that. But we could talk about the penalty and whatnot. But yeah, the like you said, Andrew, the fact that the commentary team entertained the fact that it's a racing incident. I'm sorry, mate. You might as well have who was it? If you're gonna compare that to anything, which incident I'll compare that to. Remember
Senna Prost 1990.
No. You don't have to go that far. Right? Vit Antonio Liuzzi in the HRT. Remember how he went backwards in Monza turn 1, right, from the back of the grid? 2011, wasn't it? Yeah.
I can't recall. Probably.
Anyways,
yeah.
But that was. If they're trying to base that as a racing incident on this, I'm sorry, mate. He was out of control of his car, right? Hamilton was in control of his car all the time, right? That was a racing incident back then, right? Where he careered into like half the midfield, and whereas this one was about who had the nerve, or who had the bigger balls. But sometimes you just need to use your brain and deal with it later, because you cannot win a race on the first lap. But Hamilton somehow proved that today he can, because he basically did win the race with masses and masses of luck. But eventually he won.
What else is new? Yeah.
Exactly. But the only real surprise, and I think Andrew, you might want to touch on this, Ferrari. Where the hell did they come from? I mean, no one was expecting that.
They seem to show up on these tracks that don't allow a lot of downforce, because I just don't think their downforce package is that spectacular. And it always seems to be. I mean, Sainz did a good race as well. I didn't think that was anything to be shameful for. I just think that Charles he drove a better race, and he was in the position to be in that clean air and kind of control the race at his pace. But I mean, to me, this is why I like the dude, and this is why you kind of have to like Ferrari, is just to be put in this position. He drove a spectacular race. I think he was really calm and controlled. I think he controlled it for the most part, and he lost because the package just isn't there.
Yeah. It was going to be an underdog victory, essentially.
Right. But I think he did everything in his power to do well, and Ferrari had a great strategy, and I'm disappointed he didn't win. I think, and then it's also the whole, I'm kind of gutted because I really feel like the wrong person won the race, but that's kind of just how it goes sometimes because it's sport.
Yeah.
But second place is not anything to be shy of at Silverstone, when they were kind of, I mean, they had one practice session, they were pretty good, but everything else was pretty, just average for Ferrari. And for them to come home and get a podium out of this
and remember,
means a lot.
This is his first podium this season as well. He was the only top scoring driver without a podium.
Yeah, right. two poles, and now he has his first podium.
Yeah,
he does in Silverstone, which I think is a really good statement track for them to do, especially with that car.
Yeah,
and
lack of power as well,
Right, and this is huge in their fight with McLaren, because McLaren had a good showing today too.
Yeah.
So this was what they needed. I think it kind of evened out. I think Ferrari got a little bit on the edge in points. But
I'll have to check that. Hang on,
I have to check that. But it was good. It was a great drive by him. I think probably, of course, by some too, but I most of them Hamilton's. So
oh Jesus, that's an understatement and a half. Oh.
I'm happy for my boy.
Okay, well, current standings between McLaren and Ferrari. McLaren are still ahead in P3. Ferrari are in P4. McLaren on 163 points and Ferrari on 148. So it's getting close. I mean, if Ferrari could pull off another one of these kind of results, I think. Hang on, what's the next low downforce high speed track coming up in Europe?
I don't know.
Monza?
Well, Spa then Monza, but yeah, I mean technically Monza, right?
Well, you do need some downforce
exactly.
on
But
Spa,
Monza,
yeah.
you need absolutely zero downforce, right? Yeah, and I see Ferrari doing a good showing there, you know. But no, that was the only that was really a decent showing. I mean, the only thing, you know, Ferrari being Ferrari, you know, at first it was like, hang on, is this the same Ferrari team that we all love and know and take the piss out of, right? And at first it didn't seem like that, and then typically they have a long pit stop for Carlos Sainz, so yeah.
But a lot of teams struggle today.
Yeah, a lot of teams struggle with the pit stops, and you know Charles struggled with the power issues up until the first pit stop as well. So I think it was a great race. I mean, overall, I mean, you can put some dings on Ferrari, but I mean, I just think you're getting nitpicky at a certain point. I think they had a good weekend.
I know. I mean, it was just surprisingly good, is what I'm trying to say. It's like, really, did you see? They were nowhere, pretty much. You know, they kind of like got there on the sly. You know, no one. They were all under the radar. All of this, you know, even in Friday free practice. And you know, I mean, even at the end when the team radios came out, Charles was obviously disappointed for not getting the win, but he won driver of the day. But Mattia Binotto was like, no, you basically won this race. Don't worry, you know, it's like just 2 laps more and he would have won it, right? But you know, so yeah, that was that shows Ferrari are in the right trajectory with everything. Now all they needed.
And I mean the whole thing too. If Norris didn't have that longer pit stop, you probably have Leclerc winning this race.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
because you know he's going to hold them up just that little bit more. So you know that's the nature of how things go. But I think if you're Ferrari, you come home after this race.
Yeah, proud of him. Yeah.
Very
that is quite a good result, you know. So yeah, Toms, what about you? What's your take on this Ferrari mystical performance? You know.
Well, I think that's the correct word. Is like you look back at these last 3, 4, 5 races, is you never know what kind of Ferrari you're gonna get. You know, you have the shambles of France, you have some decency in Austria, and you have some brilliance now in Silverstone. I think it's that whole roller coaster, and I think why they are P4 and why I think ultimately McLaren will edge them out for the P3 in the constructors is the fact that McLaren have more consistent performances throughout many different tracks. I think Ferrari, in terms of Sundays, they are pretty good. I think they have good race pace. I think they somewhat always nail the strategy uncharacteristically to themselves. But I think McLaren have that baseline package so good, so consistent. They have Lando Norris so much at one with that car. You think about it, you know, you say 15 points is the difference now. Well, you have to remember that Daniel Ricciardo has been struggling he's like a lot.
This is the first, this race he seemed more
he turned up as well.
Yeah, but then he's still like 20 seconds behind Lando. So my point is that if you have Ferrari, you know what I mean. A massive amount of time behind his teammates. So you look at Ferrari and they have 2 world-class drivers who are pumping in performances weekend in, weekend out when the performance allows them, the car's performance allows them to do. And then you have a situation in McLaren where Lando is brilliant, arguably the best driver on the grid in terms of the performance he can get out of a package that he's got. And he's 15 points ahead with a teammate that's struggling all the time, pretty much, yeah? So I think that the 15-point difference doesn't really paint the whole picture about the performance differences of this car. I think McLaren realistically should be at like 30 points ahead, but I think the fact that Lando is basically the 80% carrier of this team has given Ferrari a chance to show up for the P3 in the constructors, because their drivers, both of them, operate at the same level more or less. So it's going to be interesting to see that, and it was great to watch Ferrari race. I was shocked in a positive sense that Leclerc had such great pace of the restart that he never allowed Hamilton to get within DRS.
Even with those engine issues as well. That's the
Exactly, and then to manage that and to keep cool, and then even he gets to like 8, 7, 10s, but that's on this track, it's difficult to overtake with that, and then he controls the race, and frankly, and I'm not trying to rain on Hamilton's parade here or be funny or something like that, but in my opinion, the fact that it took to the last 2 laps to overtake the 4th best car on the grid speaks more about Ferrari than it does about Hamilton's brilliance, and the fact that, frankly, it's a little bit, I wouldn't say embarrassing, but it's a bit like, it's exactly what was supposed to happen. You guys should not have been in a situation where you have to hang on for the last few laps to maybe overtake the 4th best car on the grid. So yes, Hamilton did well. He drove well. He put in the pace that he was supposed to. But like at the end of the day, Leclerc was never going to be a match for him. And when he kept going and catching Leclerc, you knew it was game over. So it was never going to be a fight, is what I'm trying to say. So, but for Ferrari, great day. For McLaren, P4, P5, great day. It's a great battle.
Yeah, I think, and I mean, I'm kind of looking at down the order. Alonso had 7th, which is,
and he was brilliant as well.
Yeah, Alonso had a really great weekend this weekend.
Alonso trained.
Sorry, Raz.
Yeah, I mean, there's, I mean, and everything else. I mean, we can see Stroll P8, Ocon P9, Tsunoda 10, Gasly. I mean, everything else, I wouldn't say is absolutely spectacular. I think it's kind of, where you kind of expect. Except for Perez.
We talk about Perez had a rough weekend. But leading into that, maybe we talk about the sprint qualifyings and the new formats that we had this weekend, because we had a big story on this race with Max crashing out. But the probably the bigger story up until that point was the new format that we tried out for the first time. So Raz, first thoughts?
My thoughts is that all right. It's good F1 is trying something, rather than simulating it and talking about it. At least this way, they got some exposure. Yeah, fine. There was some jiggling around with the timing and it being so late in the day and all the rest of it. But props to F1 or FOM to actually going ahead with it and saying, look, let's just see what happens. Roll the dice, right? However, they really, I mean, it was great to see. I mean, the fact that, it was a sprint race and pole, even though they had qualifying for the qualifying, as I call it, pre-qualifying on Friday. One thing people need to, and this is where I think the media need to, the commentators, should I say, need to make it more clearer that the pole is awarded on the Saturday, not the Friday. So because I saw a lot of people celebrating that pole on Friday.
Lando Norris was on Instagram saying that it was pole position for Lewis.
Exactly. It's like, I mean, being a FIA scrutineer type person, I obviously decided to read the damn rules and see what the thing is. You could read it up in the sporting regulations and about this specific thing. And I was like, okay, so it's essentially going back to, I don't know if you guys remember the good old days of pre-qualifying on the Friday, and then on Saturday you have the qualifying for the race.
I was 6 years old at the time.
In 2003, they did that thing to stop Michael Schumacher and Ferrari winning everything, right? So they did that whole thing of like, okay, essentially championship leader, and they did it as one-shot qualifying, but essentially they had the pre-qualifying on the Friday. And then that decided the running order for the Saturday qualifying with fuel load as well. So essentially it was kind of the same thing in the sense you qualified for one, you pre-qualified for the sprint race, okay? And then the sprint race decides the grid order for the thing. So Max Verstappen, for me, for once, as a sort of neutral, right? And this is a fact that you love, or a stat that you guys love. This is the first time in 9 years Mercedes hasn't been on pole in Silverstone officially.
But it's difficult to compare when the session.
Yeah,
is
no.
different,
But I'm saying it's
right?
like that's a stat that has now officially been broken now, right? You know, it's like
Right.
You know, but
Yes.
from the trick that they missed, I would say, is they should have done what they do in F2 with sprint races, reverse top 8. That would have spiced it up, because they were saying, oh, it's to give the teams further down a chance at it, but it really didn't, because we still ended up with Ham or Verbot Ham, right? You know.
Well, but that was the whole discussion throughout, is about, are we going to do a sprint race or are we going to do a reverse grid race? The reverse grid race, we know who declined this option, so it was never going to be held this way. So this is the point, that like if you want more competitiveness, you know, you need more competitive cars. You know, if you have a faster car, you will win in either of the qualifying formats. You don't need to change the format with the hopes of changing the order, because it's not going to happen. Yes, you can argue, well, look at Sergio Perez, he spun out and was last. Well, if you have 22 sprint qualifyings throughout the year, that will happen once or twice, and all the rest of 20 sprint qualifyings, he will be P3, P2, P1, or whatever, depending on the performance of the cars. So this is essentially a different way in getting to know what we already knew, that Mercedes and Red Bull have the better cars and they are going to fight for pole positions regardless. And you saw that in Friday on the pre-qualifying, and you saw that on Saturday. The difference was that, you know, Max had the opportunity to steal the pole position, so to speak, of the start. So, but it's not going to change the balance of power at all.
Exactly.
If you have a slow car, you're going to be slow.
And
You know what I'm
to
saying?
add insult to injury, just on that, right? The top 3 get awarded points. You know, why?
Which is
You know,
stupid. Which I think is absolutely exactly, because, you know.
I mean,
here's
with the
my
reverse
point,
grid,
and I
with the
will
reverse
give.
grid, I get it, right? You will have that. However, you know, with like F2 and F3, they have spec series cars, right? Cars that can actually follow it.
Yeah, that's different. Yeah.
I think they're actually trying this at the wrong time. They should try this next year with next year's new supposedly better cars that can follow. Sorry, Andrew, take it away.
Okay, because that's going to lead into my point. One, and we kind of talked a little bit about this, is F1 always tends to do, and I thought it would maybe change a little bit, but it's just not the case when they've had the new management take over, is they always like to try to fix little issues, and they try to either make it a really big issue, or they have a big issue and they try to just put like little band-aids on it. And so the way they problem solve has always just been like very reactionary. So I don't really get why they did it this year, because the cars can't follow, right? That's the whole point of the 2022 regulations and the cost cap and everything that's going to happen for the next decade.
Yeah.
So instead of just have the championship play out like how it is, which is probably one of the most exciting championships of the hybrid era, they tried to instill this sprint qualifying. But the data really won't make sense because the cars are going to be completely different next year. So it's just, I don't feel like changing the formula this year really helps the sport in any way, other than, do you guys like more racing? Well, yes, everyone likes more racing. That's kind of obvious. So I don't know why we're having this kind of discussion. And my second biggest thing on this is, I think for the first year and a half, I think this is going to be great. I mean, there's a lot of people that enjoyed it, right? So all the Britons enjoyed it because, they get to see 2 races because they're at Silverstone. Of course they do.
Yeah, and there'll be the Silverstone variant coming very soon as well.
So, but the thing is, I think the more you have the races, the more diluted the product's going to get. So
yes.
if you point out and have let's have we have 23 races. They're instilled to put 23 races. Now you probably have 46 if you do this the entire season. There's 52 weeks out of the year. You almost have a race every given weekend. No, it's not consistent. You know, the numbers, that stats a little skewed, but it's like the whole point of F1, why a lot of people like F1, is the anticipation, right? It's the anticipation who's going to get pole. It's the anticipation of unveiling the cars after 4 months. It's the anticipation of getting there to the Grand Prix weekend. It's anticipation what's going to happen after this next pit stop. But if you completely nullify that and just dilute the product with more and more racing, it's going to be great. But at a certain sense, it's going to get so diluted that it's going to, I feel like it might hamper, or it might really hurt Formula One in general, because it's just not going to feel special. Like if you have your favorite, I described it as like, if you have your favorite food once every 2 weeks, you're going to love your favorite food, right?
I was just going to say that.
Right? You're going to love it. It's going to be awesome. Yeah. But if you have your favorite food 10 days out of 14 days, it's not going to be your favorite food anymore.
No. And
so
also
I don't get this whole thing. And yes, it's me being an old head a little bit, but it's just kind of like,
it needs to be special, is what you're trying to say.
Yeah,
right?
it's just the whole anticipate. Usually, and this goes for, I think this goes for almost anything in life.
Yeah.
Anticipation is better than the actual event.
Yeah. Also, just touching on that whole diluting thing, right? Okay. You know, back in the good old days, right? Sorry, Toms. I'm
gonna have to take shots by the time you do good old days. And,
okay. Yeah, back in the good old days.
Steward thing. I'm gonna be fucking drunk.
No. The whole diluting thing. You know when they introduced DRS, right? Because there's not enough overtaking. Now it's just like overtaking being chugged down your throat, right? And back in the good old days, it was like an overtake was measured and well executed, and it was worth the wait for a bloody overtake, right? Now
it's all artificial. It's the point of trying to have something that's, you want more excitement, right?
Yeah.
And
closer racing.
And the attention span is just becoming less and less and less because of the world we live in. Yeah, so it's like we want more excitement, we want more. But if you have more excitement, it's going to be fun for a little while, but then you're just going to want more.
Yeah,
and it becomes less exciting because you're always going to demand more. So I get what they're trying to do, and if they wanted to do this, and this is the way they want to go, and I get more bored of the sport in 3 years, it's just gonna happen. That's fine. I'm not mad about that. I just think that this is all nullified by the point that they kind of want to do it this year.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. A year too early. Yeah.
I'll add another point as a non-scrutineer. What
as a non-oldie? Come on, youth.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. First of all, I completely agree with the fact that it's kind of weird that they are testing this out before the new cars, but that's one thing. The other thing is they're testing it out in Silverstone, Monza, Interlagos.
That's track. If we go to Interlagos, because
let's assume we do. Yeah. Pretty good tracks, pretty fast tracks where we can more or less overtake, tracks where we have had pretty good races over the years. So let's say they test it out and they say, okay, cool, we like this. It's worth it. Let's give it up. Let's keep it for next year. Okay, maybe new cars help, but is this really going to be exciting in Australia, in Monaco, in Singapore? In Japan?
Well, I just think that you're going to have boring races, and you're going to have boring.
You need to qualifying. Have the boring races.
Well, you do, because it makes the exciting races even more, memorable.
You look forward to them.
Right, and I just think that you can't make everything exciting. It's just not going to be the case. And look, you're going to instill this, and there's still going to be really boring sprint races.
Remember? Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Remember when we thought France was boring? And then it wasn't.
Well, they had that same. Remember the first race in Baku?
Yeah. Oh God, yeah. And now
it was the snooze fest, and now it's like one of the most sought out races on the calendar.
Yeah, exactly. So this is the thing. You can't change it. Like you said, let's just get the new cars in, right? Let's get used to the new formula, for a year.
Right. And look, I'm not mad about anything that they're doing with this.
No, they're trying it. They're just trying it.
They're trying it, and I I'm always at the point of I like a league or a series that tries something rather than not. Like the biggest thing is is baseball.
Right.
Is just the biggest snooze fest, and there's too many games. The thing, it's just like. But
I thought the Premier League had too many games. Right?
Yeah, but the lack of innovation hurts you, and so. Yeah. But I think that too much innovation can't. It's finding a balance. But at least they're doing something. I like that, because if they just didn't, I think I'd be even more upset, because they would feel like they don't care. Because they can defend, it's a purist thing. Is it, or are you just too stubborn to try to change something that you're comfortable with?
Okay, but then we have had a great championship so far. I don't think there has been any Saturday qualifyings we look back on and say, that was garbage. We've had exciting qualifying sessions, and we've had exciting Sunday races. So we can talk about innovation, we can talk about moving forward, etc., etc. The reality is that ultimately this comes down to performance and the competitiveness of the team. So if we did this last year, for example, when Mercedes were getting pole positions by literally 0.8 to a second over Red Bull, then we have that on Friday, then they win the sprint race by 7 seconds, and then they win the whole thing by 30 seconds. That makes no difference. The innovation...
You need competitive racing to make this interesting.
Yeah, and then, but then the innovation side... I'm sorry, Raj, quickly.
Yeah.
The innovation side is important, but then if it gets in the way of an already good product like we have had this year, then you start to question, okay, do we really need this? Are we changing something because we are addressing a problem, or are we changing something for changing something's sake?
Well, it's a short-term fix, they think it's a short-term fix for something that, the whole sport is about longevity, right? So how long is this going to go until they get bored of this too? And it's fine. I don't have any really say in it. If this is what they want to do, this is what they want to do.
So, all right, here's a hypothetical question for both of you, right? You're in charge of FOM, FIA, okay? Okay, what would you do as a complete neutral right now? You've got the new regulations coming and the new cars, and they all look, wow, and the data proves that the cars will be much closer, will be able to follow, because all the aerodynamics and the downforce is generated by ground effect, right? So you got zero, pretty much compared to today, zero dirty air, right? Would you rather see a season of that happen, then think about tweaking a qualifying format?
Exactly.
Or, of course.
Or do what the FIA always do, look at a problem, throw 10 things at it, even though they know that only one thing is the solution, but throwing the other 9 things at it makes it worse.
Well, because I think they were kind of, because this started all last year, they were starting to talk about it. It's not like it's a completely new thing.
No.
I think they were assuming that this year is going to be a continuation of the Borefest that we had for last year. So they thought, well, we might as well try something else, because we're not going to be in a too exciting situation anyway. They didn't predict, in my opinion, that Red Bull would show up the way that they did. So now they were kind of stuck with that. Okay, let's try it anyway. Let's do something.
I don't think they knew how the severity of COVID and how that was going to happen, when fans are going to start coming back and everything.
Yes.
So I think they tried to take advantage of what you said, Tom, and then also the fact that we might not have fans here. We might as well try something that we've been thinking about, because it's probably not going to make that much of a difference. Well, it turns out the opposite that we have. Yeah, and that's fine. I just feel like they could have waited until round 10 of next year. Just have something under your belt. I don't have to wait till 2023 or 24. I'm not saying that. it kind of just I don't know. They're at least trying something, which is fine. I'm just worried about they're going to dilute the product because it's just not going to be that special anymore.
Well, Ross
But
Brawn did say if we do go ahead with it, it's only going to be like a few select rounds per year.
Which I think is stupid, frankly. Because
You
if you're
don't
going to
need-
have a... No, but listen,
well,
if
I
you're
like
gonna
that
have a
better
certain...
than having it every round.
Well,
No, because they
But then it
can't
kind of
afford
warrants,
it.
why do you have it?
Yes.
Well, exactly. Well, then if you like it, then you run it for 22 races. If you don't like it, then you don't run it at all.
Why bother with just a few?
Yeah, because it also skews the championship a little bit as well. It interferes with the competitiveness as well. If you love this new format, stick with it. Where's the problem? If you don't like it, well then bin it, or come up with a new
Or
format.
they could just do it from a certain point in the calendar.
Well, but that's like the double points in 2014.
Yeah, that's the point that I'm trying to make. Fine,
Yeah.
you do the last 5 rounds, right?
Yeah, because then
You
that way
spike
it
it
has
with
some
interfering
jeopardy.
with the-
Yeah,
But then you are interfering with the format of the whole season, and then you're interfering.
Well, you're already doing it. It's already happening right now.
Well, yeah, but that's an experiment. But then if you like the results of the experiment, you make it for the whole season. If you don't like the results of the experiment, you don't do it at all. Is my point.
No, but the teams are clever. Some teams might target certain rounds, right? You know,
Especially if you have dogfights going into the last few rounds.
Yeah, they might target them. They might
Because
target,
then you also don't have the amount of R&D and development that you've had this year than you will in the next round. So they might try to... I don't know, but would you gamble everything on the point? I mean, I guess they already do it with the fastest lap thing, but I'm like, if you're Ferrari, do you really care?
No.
So, I mean, I don't know. There's so many little nuances and just little
it's half baked, isn't it? It's just weird.
Yeah, it just seems like it's another artificial thing that they're kind of trying to throw in to spice things out. And it's whatever. I mean, I don't want to sit here and like rag on it because I don't think there's really any point to, but it's just it kind of just stumps me a little bit. I'm just okay. I guess this is what we're gonna do, but I mean,
no, but this is the thing. You're proving exactly why it's not a good idea. The fact that you're stumped by it, you know, I'm pretty sure you're not the only person.
I thought the knockout round stuff a few years ago was going to be spectacular.
Oh,
but
what every 1 minute 30 seconds?
Yeah,
thing.
because I'm like, dude, who doesn't like knockout rounds? That's awesome. But then, of course,
it failed
because you don't have competitive racing and the way they had it, and then the teams just exploited it. Like, oh, then we're just not going to go out. And then you're like, oh, we didn't think of this, and it was horrible.
But guys, there's another
the fact
reason.
that they did 2 rounds of it.
You know, just to make sure, but like, there's another point, and this is the biggest point. We're talking about racing here. We're talking about the traditions of Formula One. We're talking about all these little things, aspects, and factors, and it's fair enough. We are not talking about what they are talking about, which is the financial aspect of all of this. The reality is that these sprint races are introduced for the same reasons NHL is expanding in Las Vegas and Seattle, and NBA will follow suit, I'm sure. This is the same reason why NFL is talking about moving the regular season from 16 games to 18 games. This is about the hopes of trying to get more attention, more fans, and ultimately more revenue.
It's the thing that makes the world go round with any sort of.
And I'm not saying it. I don't have a negative connotation attached to it. What I'm trying to say that this is probably the biggest factor of it all. That ultimately that the racing aspects.
It's not maybe it is.
It is right. So the fact that we're talking about racing aspects, we're talking about formats, we're talking about interference in the championship, but ultimately those things, while they'll be important to a certain extent, they won't be the make or break factors for when a decision is put on Stefano Domenicali's desk to sign off on this or not. You know what I'm saying?
Can I add another point to you with the whole financial aspect? Okay, I don't. No. It's good. You're gonna like this. Right? Liberty Media are so desperate at the minute because, let's be honest, the reason why they're trying to do this big, massive 23 race calendar and throw more at it to get more people, to get more revenue, is because they're a publicly listed company, right? So I mean, they're on the stock market, and I just googled Formula One stock right now. Ooh, today it took a dive. It took a 1% dive. You know, so it's
it's the whole fact that they've lost money.
Yeah, and
we live in COVID times still.
Yeah, because of COVID, they've lost money. They're trying these things right now just to get more interest, right?
And of course.
And
it's the same thing why the football Super League was talked about a few months ago.
That's why Aston's charging £400 for a jacket. I mean, you know, I get why, and it's because everyone's hurting on it, and they're trying to make up some sort of revenue when they can. And fine, I mean, if it helps the longevity,
that's their business. Yeah.
But you know, don't be like, you know, complete idiots about it as to like, oh, we need more money. Let you know. I get it, right? They need money, but don't go like we'll put sprint races in because, you know, people are dickheads, right? You know, and that kind of thing. But nah, it's not a good way of.
Well, they tried to come off as really caring about the whole racing, and for me, it's like. If you're gonna, it's clearly you're not. But the point is, okay. So you talk about the importance of the heritage of the sport and making sure that Sunday's event is still the main event. Okay, fine, fair enough. Why the fuck are you giving 3 points for a win in the sprint race then? If you're not going to give,
they want something to feel like it's worth getting.
Yeah, but then you are looting the Sunday's product. The fact is, you're not gonna give. You know, when we have a regular qualifying and Max puts in a great lap, he doesn't get 3 points. So why the fuck are we doing it right now? If you're going to say that essentially the idea behind sprint qualifying is exactly the same about the regular qualifying, that is just a change of format. We just go about it in a different way. Well, you are rewarding it in a completely different way. Then you are putting this session in a completely different tier compared to the regular qualifying, which then has connotations for the championship because at 1 point can make a difference, or 2 points or 3 points. So why are you doing it, especially right now when it's still an experiment? If you stick with it for the whole season, fine. But then if you're just running it as an experiment, you are really ramping up the stakes for this kind of thing that may not work and may not be there for 12 months from now, which I just think it's something to think about.
You know what? You know, you're right. They shouldn't have done it here in literally the middle of the season, right? What they should have done it is Abu Dhabi. Right? You know, think about it. The last races, they got nothing to lose, right? I mean, I hope the championship goes right to the last.
They should have just done it on the doubleheader. I don't know why they didn't do it on doubleheader like Austria.
Oh
yeah,
Austria,
you know, like that would have been the perfect thing. Like, cool, you have a race, same exact track, same thing. Cool, let's just do something different.
Yes,
like because it would have made it up. Because like, you know, if you had to run Bahrain twice and you're not doing the second layout, like, cool, same exact circuit, but we're just gonna do a different format here. It would make sense, but. It's whatever. I don't want to get too much in on it. But,
we'll probably end up talking about this till the cows come home. But you know, it's an experiment. Let's give him credit for trying something new.
It wasn't horrible. It was pretty okay.
Yeah, I mean,
I liked waking up and watching a little race on Saturday before Sunday. I think it was fine.
Yeah, I mean, it needs a tweak, but I think it's just. We got the big reg change coming up next year, so.
Yeah, like I don't know. I'm again the anticipation of that. I'm more excited for.
Oh God, yeah, me too.
So, we'll see how everything goes. Oh, and I guess they had the unveiling of the car.
All right.
Here, so I guess we can touch on that. I love it. I think it's great. Everyone's like, oh, they're trying to like break it down. Like, dude, you guys are
trying to make it like IndyCar.
Yeah, like, dude, you guys complained about the 2017 cars, complained about the Halo. I'm like, dude, you guys are gonna bitch about everything you have.
Yeah, exactly.
Do I like the front end, the nose? Not particularly, but I love the rear end. I'm like, look, if it does its job, which is better racing, I'm gonna love the car. That's it.
And that's what's going to matter at the end of the day. You know that, right? And I mean, fine. Everyone's got opinions, and opinions matter more than facts these
opinions
days.
Are like assholes. Everybody has one.
No. But the worst thing is, right? People make their opinions. They say that my opinion's worth more than the fact. Okay, here's a fact, right? That car, the one that we saw unveiled, was FOM's specific design team's interpretation of the regulation.
Yeah, it's gonna change.
It's a concept. It's a mock-up.
It's a concept. It's
that's the first thing I thought about was how the hell is Red Bull gonna take a look at it? I'm so excited to see what Newey says. Oh, what can I change?
And if you guys got F1 TV, obviously Sam Collins does a deep dive into the whole thing. All right, the reveal, and also he mentioned that he spoke with a few of the designers, up and down the.
They're already saying that it's going to be different for them.
Yeah, exactly. He spoke with Alpine's chief designer, and he basically said, our car doesn't look the front doesn't look like that, that kind of thing. But it's even they were sort of taken aback by FOM's interpretation of the rules, FOM's team is basically Ross Brawn, Nicholas Tombatsis.
That's the whole
Pat Simmons. Pat Simmons. That's the guys who designed that actual car, right? And two of them were at Ferrari, Ross Brawn and Nicholas Tombatsis. And Nicholas Tombatsis was also at McLaren as well. And Pat Simmons was at Renault. So. They literally didn't just cook it up by we want the car to look like this. They had proper design and car engineers, F1 engineers with who know their shit, right?
Well, it's an important thing to remember is that also not only that there is still room for innovation and that the cars will be different from team to team. Ross Brawn already has said that, look, we'll see what they come up with, but if we need to, we're going to change the rules if they are contradicting the main aims of these new regulations.
Yeah, the spirit
so,
of the rules,
this is essentially, a real life render. It's just an idea. It's just
pretty much.
It's cool. And actually, like you guys said, there's going to be people who bitch about anything. There are even people who bitch about delivery. I like delivery, but ultimately, who gives a fuck? You just look at the car, right?
It's a demo, right?
Yeah.
It's a demo.
Yeah, it's like so.
I hated it, but I mean, that's the thing. I know there's gonna because I know there's gonna be a Ferrari red on it. I know there's gonna be the Red Bull blue
and that's the thing. Formula One on Instagram and social media, they released that car with the current liveries of the different teams as well, just to show. Okay, fine. If you don't like that,
which I thought was cool because I'm like, that's the first thought I had. Right? Was how does McLaren look on this? How does Red Bull look on this? So I don't know. I like it. I'm curious how they're actually going to do sponsorship on a car that's not the size of a bus. So, I don't know. There's going to be a lot of things that I'm really excited.
I still think in terms of aesthetics, I'm not an engineer. I'm not a designer. I don't know anything about this shit. But I do think that these cars are a little bit too long. I would like them to be a little bit shorter, but I don't know.
The Mercedes is actually longer than an S-Class. That says something.
Right. But I mean, they're a shorter wheelbase from what they had on. They're definitely shorter.
They are shorter
than what we have now.
Yes.
And then Red Bull even runs a shorter wheelbase from any other car that they have. So
I just think in recent history, what some of my favorite cars are 07 and 08.
Oh,
they were
God.
They were just so nimble.
I think the pinnacle of my interpretation F1 car was 95.
Oh yeah, that's
those
are my favorite
that was
cars.
Clean.
Those were just so agile for what they were, and the wheel
so
and they
nimble.
were just tiny. They were so tiny, and I love that fact of them. So they're trying. They're going back a little bit.
The 95 Benetton, I saw it up close in Spa when Mick Schumacher did that demo lap, right? And then right next to it, you got the fucking Merc, right? Which is like the 2017 Merc.
I'm just happy they're smaller.
And it was that long. It was fatter and everything.
I'm happy they're smaller. I'm happy that they're narrower. I just, and I just think it's going to be cool to see what the teams do with them. I mean, they're going to try to break the rules. They're going to try to get in, but
that's
still,
how they have Ross Brawn.
Yeah, and that's why I'm excited for it, because I just want to see what each team tries to exploit. So
that would be good to see. So,
yeah, man.
But anyways, that's
pretty much it.
Yeah.
So I think Hungary next, but I won't be here for that because I'll be at the Spa 24 hours doing some scrutineering, right? So for the big race, and it'll just be you and Greg and Tom, see if Greg's going to join. So I'm not going to be around for that. So yeah, but.
And I think I'll give a announcement too. So we'll probably kind of have a mix up in that. But for Belgium, neither of us, you or me, Raz, are going to be here. So we might, unless Tom wants to have
I'll be
Tom's tangents by himself. I think we'll have to wait until the Dutch Grand Prix. But it was good. It was I think overall it was a pretty unpredictable race weekend, and I think we all enjoyed it. So if you guys haven't already, follow us on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter. It's 3tenths Up all around. Same thing with Spotify, Google Podcasts, wherever you get them. We have podcasts up. Thanks for joining us, and we'll do it again soon.
All right.
Bye-bye, guys.
Bye-bye. Take it easy.